Welcome to the show that featured major highlights from Bismarck this past weekend, including a thrilling finish to send Minot into the state hockey tournament, capped off by a new state champion later in the night. This is the Minot Sports Podcast. Hello, gang, and welcome to episode 26 of the Minot Sports Podcast, a production of KMSU TV and Radio and sponsored by Joshua Strong Photography and MSU Red and Green. We have quite the show for you today, as Bismarck was very kind to Minot Sports. I was lucky enough to make the trip over to the capital city and had no trouble finding the VFW Sports Center where they were having the West Region Hockey Tournament, and also over at the Starion Sports Complex for more hockey action. So with that, let the excitement begin. I'm sure you guys are hyped. I know I am. How about that? What an amazing finish that was for your Minot High Magicians hockey team. It was over at the VFW where Minot High Magicians hockey, they collect the 3-2 victory in sudden death overtime versus the Mandan Braves in a state qualifier. A nail-biting finish. But it was all worth it, right, guys? Nick Murphy opened the scoring for Minot. That was until Mandan scored 2 late in the third. And it seemed like all hope was being lost. 2-1, just over a minute. But wait, hold on. Aiden Morelli, clutch, scoring with 1:09 left to go in the game. And that will send both teams to the overtime session. And then something amazing happened. 5:36 left in the overtime period. Isaiah Thongfet just coming down the right wing side, throws up just a regular shot on net, nothing fancy, just shoot the puck and good things will happen. Shot it, and it just squeaked through Zane Clausen. And that is how your Minot High Magicians are going to the state hockey tournament that is set to begin on Thursday at the Shields Arena over in Fargo. What a time to be a fan of Minot High Magicians hockey, just athletics in general. I got more stuff coming later, but let's focus on hockey as of right now. The assist came from none other than his brother Gabe Thongfet. I think what we learned from this game was that seeding, of course, Minot was ranked number 1 and Mandan was 3, and it seemed like Minot was favored to win. But look at the final score. Look at the result of what happened from this game. Were you expecting a 3-2 result, just barely winning over Mandan? The victories are great, guys. Don't get me wrong. But we also got to remember that seeds, when it comes to seeding in whether it's the West Region Tournament or the state tourney, whatever it is, those may not mean anything. But thank goodness Minot High showed up, clutched it out. Mandan gave them all that they had. But Minot was just able to prevail. Again, don't get me wrong, guys. I had a lot of fun witnessing that moment. So congrats to Minot High Magicians Hockey on the win. They will get the 3rd seed from the West, and they will face off with 2nd seed Fargo South Shanley from the East. I will have more on that as Thursday rolls on closer. But again, guys, I'm not here to kill the mood. I just want to say that I think we learned a lot about this Minot High Magicians hockey team. Because, yeah, you have the 1st seed, but you also got to remember nothing is guaranteed. And Minot proved that they were able to work for it. And just like what the hockey Twitter says, they earned it. Nicely done, boys. I also spoke to John Grubb, head coach, as well as Isaiah Thongfet, for interviews after the game. And Coach said it right. The boys learned some valuable lessons, and they just learned a lot about themselves. I will have that interview posted up later. As for now, I got to get this episode done. So with Minot High making an appearance to the state hockey tournament this year, we had another state tournament happen this past weekend for North Dakota High School Wrestling. Although the Minot High Magicians as a team came up just short versus the Bismarck High Demons, we did have a singular state champion. That honor goes to Jacob Carmichael. He is now a state champ. He beat Shane Kennedy of West Fargo Cheyenne 11-9 in overtime. And Jacob, you are doing great things. Nicely done. Going back over to Minot High Hockey, a congrats goes out to Riley Opru, Jaden Luck, and Trey Sortland for making it to the All-West Region team. So good job, boys. That wasn't the only thing I was in Bismarck for. I had to drive over to Mandan to be at the Starion Sports Complex, which I hear it's still fairly new. They did a nice job on it. The entire complex itself looks very nice. But anyways, I was at the Starion in the Schwann Cadillac Rink, home of the University of Mary Marauders, also Mandan hockey as well. It was a matchup between two in-state rivals, Minot State Beavers over at UMary. And the Beavers get the dub just like Minot High on the same day, in same fashion, 3-2 in overtime over the University of Mary Marauders. Davis Sheldon scored twice, including the game-winning goal, and Adam Wowick also scored. So it was a very successful day on Saturday in Bismarck for Minot Sports. Before MSU played UMary again on Saturday, they had a matchup over at the Mesa, and it was yet another victory for the Beavers over the Marauders. This time, Jordan Robertson, Wade Johannesson, Riley Vautour, Adam Wowick, and Blake Fournier also scoring on Friday. So the Beavers complete the sweep over the University of Mary Marauders. They will go on next weekend to play the Utah Utes over in Utah. Speaking of being on the road, that's what MSU basketball was doing. On Friday, they were at the University of Minnesota Moorhead, where both the men's and women's, unfortunately, losing to the Dragons. The women's, a score of 78-50. Brutal, tough loss. And then not much different for the men's. They lose 75-55. And then on Saturday, they traveled over to Northern State, where the women's, they make it a tight matchup, but couldn't seal it. Northern State Wolves take the women's game 73-71. Men's not as close, but still kind of made a game out of it. That one was 67-53, also for the Northern State Wolves. So 0-4 overall for the Beavers basketball teams this weekend. Mariah Payne had an especially nice Saturday, hitting 28 points versus the Northern State Wolves. And although Max Cody and Kyle Beisch do a lot of the scoring, Cody Dwyer had himself, just like Payne, an eventful Saturday against the Northern State Wolves. He collected 18 points in the loss. Both teams will now move on to the NSIC tournament, set to begin this Wednesday. While I was in Bismarck and Mandan, softball was in town for another air-supported bubble tournament. They played games against Minnesota Crookston, Montana State Billings, and the University of Marion Marauders. On Saturday, the first two games, the Beavers went 1-1 with a 12-0 loss to Crookston, but they rebounded with a 4-1 win over Montana State Billings. And then on Sunday, they beat their in-state rivals, just like the Beavers hockey team. Wasn't the same score, but still a win against them nonetheless. Beavers win 93 over the Marauders, but then a tough, high-scoring loss versus Crookston. It was 13-12. So still a pretty decent turnout for your MSU Beavers softball team. A much better turnout for your Minot State Beavers in baseball. This weekend, they were at Missouri Western State for a 4-game series. On Friday, in Game 1, your Beavers win 8-5, and then 10-0 in Game 2. Hopefully I don't butcher this name, but if I do, I apologize. Noah Meyer with the no-hitter in the 10-0 victory over Missouri Western. Fantastic job on him and the entire Beavers squad as well. Then on Saturday, another shutout for the Beavers over Missouri Western. Game 1 resulted in an 11-0 victory for Minot. And then Missouri Western was able to pull away with the second game. Score in that one was 12-7. But still very good weekend overall for your Beavers baseball team, getting 3 of the 4 contests played. MSU women's hockey was at Minnesota to face the Golden Gophers for tilts on Saturday and Sunday. Your Lady Beavers get a 2-0 shutout on Saturday, and then a convincing 7-1 victory on Sunday, yesterday. Mountain High basketball, both the Magicians and the Majettes were over in Dickinson on Friday, with the boys getting the 89-82 victory over the Midgets, and same for the Majettes, except the Majettes were 51-49. So clean sweep for Mountain High basketball. Mountain High Majettes hockey, they were at Williston to face the Coyotes. They pick up the 7-0 victory, and they will face Fargo North-South in the first round of the state hockey tournament. So the Majettes also clinching a spot in the state tournament as well. More news on Majettes hockey. For the All-West Region team, the players from Minot, congratulations to Taylor Cope, Abby Tolman, O'Malley Esslinger, future Beaver, Kaya Shaw, Paige Ackerman, and Amber Borkus. We also have word on Majettes basketball. Sometimes the standings can just get a little odd, and that there's no decision on who advances and who doesn't advances to the next level of competition. That just so happened to result in scheduling of a play-in game between the Minot Majets and the Turtle Mountain Braves. That will be this Thursday at Magic City Campus. I will have more, just like the other events, I will have more coming up later. So yeah, Minot High Majets, they finished good enough to get a play-in game for a chance at moving on to the West Region Basketball Tournament. So after a rough season last year, the noticeable growth is just getting recognized more. The growth is showing its presence, and the Majets did well this year. I mentioned earlier about Minot High Wrestling. The final team score, they made it to the state championship in wrestling. The final team score was 41-18, loss versus Bismarck High. But Jacob Carmichael makes up for part of it, winning the state championship in his weight class. Our Redeemers had their senior night for boys basketball versus the Stanley Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays show out on our Redeemers senior night as they win 47-36 over the Knights. The Knights girls are in action today for the Region 6 basketball tournament versus West Hope Newburgh. That is currently going on right now. Bishop Ryan girls basketball, they had a date with Velva earlier today, and the Aggies take it 47-33. Bishop Ryan Wrestling had 4 wrestlers place in the state tournament this past weekend. One of them was future MSU Beaver Keegan Henjum, taking 4th place in the weight class of 285 pounds. And that is it for all of the reviews from this past weekend and today. Just want to make a quick note that the Minot Sports Podcast is a production of KMSU TV and Radio, sponsored by Joshua Strong Photography and MSU Red and Green. Hope you guys are enjoying the NHL trade deadline day today. Let me know what your teams did if you are interested in that. I forgot about the NBA trade deadline a couple weeks back, and that one was exciting. And so, guys, I want to thank you for checking into this one, episode 26, an exciting one of the Minot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Cole Clementich, and as always, take care.